She told me she was pregnant. I already knew the baby wasn't mine. I made her pay.
Took the children custody, took the money. She pays him child support.
She told me she was pregnant, our third child. The news I'd been waiting to hear for 2 years. The news that should have made me the happiest man alive. Instead, it made me want to die, because I knew, with absolute certainty, that the baby wasn't mine. My name is James. I'm 36 years old. I've been married to my wife, Nicole, for 11 years. We have 2 children together, a daughter who's 8, a son who's 6. I thought we had a good marriage, a strong marriage, the kind of marriage that could weather any storm. But I was wrong. I was completely and utterly wrong. It started 3 months ago. Nicole came home late one night. She said she'd been with her friends, having drinks, celebrating one of their birthdays. She smelled like perfume and alcohol and someone else's cologne. I didn't think anything of it. I trusted her. Or I thought I did. The next week she came home late again, and the week after that. She started having girls' nights every Thursday, every Friday, sometimes twice a week. I asked her about it once. "Is everything okay?" I said. "Everything's fine," she said. "I just need some space, some time with my friends. I feel like I've been a mom for so long that I've forgotten who I am." I understood that. I got it. I didn't want to be the controlling husband who kept her locked at home, so I let her go. I let her have her space. I let her have her girls' nights. What I didn't realize was that those girls' nights weren't with girls. They were with a man named Marcus, a personal trainer at the gym where Nicole had recently started working out. I found out about Marcus by accident. Nicole left her phone on the kitchen counter one morning. It buzzed with a text message. I shouldn't have looked, I know that, but something made me do it. Some instinct told me to check. The message was from Marcus. "Last night was incredible. Can't wait for Thursday." My stomach dropped. I picked up the phone and scrolled through the messages, hundreds of them, going back 3 months. Messages about meetings, messages about how much they missed each other, messages with explicit photos. Photos of my wife, naked, in positions that she'd never been in with me, with expressions on her face that I'd never seen before. I stood in my kitchen and looked at those photos for a very long time. I looked at the date stamps. I looked at the times. I calculated exactly when these photos had been taken, exactly when my wife had been with this man. And I realized something. I realized that while I'd been at work, earning money to support my family, my wife had been in a hotel room with a personal trainer named Marcus, taking explicit photos of herself. I put the phone down and walked away. I went to my home office and closed the door, and I sat in the dark and tried to figure out what to do. I could confront her. I could yell and scream and demand an explanation. I could throw her out of the house and hire a divorce attorney. I could do 1,000 things. But instead, I did nothing. I put the phone back on the kitchen counter exactly where she'd left it, and I went to work like nothing had happened. At work, I couldn't focus. All I could think about was those photos. All I could think about was my wife's body in another man's arms. All I could think about was the fact that I'd been living a lie. My boss, a man named David, noticed that something was wrong. "You okay?" he asked me during a meeting. "I'm fine," I said. "Just tired." "You look like someone just died," he said. I almost told him. I almost said, "My wife is fucking another man. She's been doing it for 3 months, and I just found out this morning." But I didn't. I just said I was fine and went back to work. That night, Nicole came home and told me she was pregnant. She told me it was our third child. She told me she was so excited. She cried happy tears. She held me and told me she loved me. And I held her and said nothing. Because I knew the truth. I knew that the baby in her womb wasn't mine. I knew that she was carrying Marcus's child. I knew that she was planning to lie to me, to pass off another man's baby as my own. And I knew that I was going to let her think she was getting away with it. That night, after Nicole fell asleep, I went to my home office and booted up my computer. I created a new folder. I labeled it Insurance. I transferred the photos from her phone. I created a timeline. I documented everything. I made spreadsheets, dates, times, locations, hotel names, room numbers, durations of the meetings, everything. I printed out the photos and organized them chronologically.
I created a visual timeline on my wall that I could study. I wrote down every detail I could remember, every text message, every timestamp, every lie she'd told me. Then I did something else. I hired a private investigator, a woman named Sandra, who specialized in infidelity cases. I gave her a photo of Marcus. I gave her his gym's address. I gave her the hotel where they'd been meeting. I told her to follow Nicole every Thursday and Friday and document where she went and who she met. "This is going to cost you," Sandra said. "I don't care," I said. "I need to know everything. I need to know exactly where they go, how long they stay, what they do, everything." Sandra nodded. She was a professional. She understood that I wasn't just a jealous husband looking for confirmation. I was a man building a case. "I'll need to know what you want to do with this information," Sandra said. "Are you planning to confront her? Go to divorce court? What?" "I don't know yet," I told her. "Just get me the evidence. The rest I'll figure out." For the next 6 weeks, I lived a double life. During the day, I was the loving husband. I went to work. I came home. I kissed my wife on the cheek. I asked her how her day was. I acted like nothing was wrong. But at night, I reviewed the documentation. I looked at the photos. I studied the timeline. I watched the surveillance footage that Sandra provided. Every Thursday and Friday, without fail, Nicole would tell me she was going out with friends. And every Thursday and Friday, without fail, she would go to the Riverside Hotel on Fifth Avenue and meet Marcus in room 412. They would spend 2 to 3 hours together. Then she would go home and shower. Then she would come to bed and tell me she loved me. I watched this pattern repeat itself over and over again. And each time it happened, I felt something inside me harden. Something inside me turn to ice. I started to create detailed reports of each meeting. Time in, time out. Who was watching? What car she was driving? What she was wearing? What he was wearing? It all went into my documentation. By the time Nicole was 3 months pregnant, I had enough evidence to destroy her. I had photos, videos, surveillance footage, a detailed timeline of every affair, a record of every lie. I had the hotel records. I had the credit card statements. I had everything. But I didn't confront her. I waited. I waited for her to show me her ultrasound photos. I waited for her to tell me the baby's due date. I waited for her to plan the nursery. I waited for her to tell our friends and family that we were having another child. And all the while, I was building my case. I started to notice changes in how Nicole looked at me. There was guilt in her eyes sometimes. There was fear. She would look at me like she was waiting for me to say something, waiting for me to accuse her. But I never did. I just smiled. I just kissed her. I just told her everything was fine. One night she asked me if I'd noticed anything different about her. "Different how?" I asked. "I don't know. Do you think I'm still attractive? Do you still love me?" She was testing me. She was trying to see if I knew. She was gauging whether I suspected anything. "Of course," I said. "You're beautiful. I love you." She cried. She actually cried, and I held her while she sobbed into my chest, and I said nothing. Because I was planning. Because I was calculating, because I was building a wall of evidence that would allow me to destroy her completely. I met with a divorce attorney, a man named Robert, who specialized in high-conflict divorces and infidelity cases. I showed him all the evidence. I showed him the photos, the videos, the surveillance footage, the spreadsheets with dates and times. "This is airtight," Robert said. "This is one of the strongest cases I've seen. If you want to take her to court, we can destroy her, completely destroy her." "What about the baby?" I asked. "What happens to the baby if we go to court?" "That depends," Robert said. "If you can prove that the baby is not biologically yours, you have no obligation to support the child. You can also use the affair as evidence of her infidelity, which will influence custody decisions in your favor. Judges don't look kindly on mothers who've been unfaithful. They're more likely to award custody to the father. How do I prove the baby isn't mine? I asked. DNA test, Robert said. After the baby is born, you can demand a DNA test. If it comes back negative, you're off the hook. No child support, no legal obligation. And if she refuses, then we go to court and get a judge to order it. She can't refuse a court order. I nodded, but I was already thinking ahead. I was already planning. I was already calculating the best way to destroy her. Robert leaned forward. "He need to ask you something," he said. "Are you sure you want to go down this path? Once you file for divorce, once you start this process, there's no going back. This is going to be messy. This is going to be brutal, and it's going to affect your children." I didn't answer because I didn't know how to answer. I knew that I wanted revenge. I knew that I wanted her to suffer the way I was suffering. But I also knew that this would hurt everyone, including the children, including Marcus's baby, including me. I met with Nicole. At 6 months pregnant, Nicole told me she wanted to have the baby at the hospital where we'd had our other 2 children. She told me she wanted me in the delivery room. She told me it would be a beautiful experience, just like the first 2 times.
The court case was brutal. Nicole's attorney tried to argue that I had no right to demand a DNA test without her consent. He tried to argue that I was punishing her for an affair that was, in his words, a product of her unhappiness in the marriage. He tried to paint me as the villain, as a man who was so obsessed with revenge that he was willing to destroy his family to get it. And, in a way, he was right. But Robert was better. Robert presented all the evidence. He presented the photos, the surveillance footage, the hotel receipts, the text messages, the DNA test results. The judge listened to everything. The judge saw the photos. The judge read the text messages. The judge understood. And then the judge made his decision. I got primary custody of our 2 biological children. Nicole got them every other weekend and was required to pay child support. I got the house. I got most of the savings. I got the investment accounts. And most importantly, I got a declaration from the court that I had no legal obligation to support Thomas, the baby that Nicole had carried for 9 months. The baby she'd named after my best friend. The baby she'd tried to pass off as mine. Nicole walked out of the courthouse in tears. Her attorney was already discussing appeals, but there was nothing to appeal. The evidence was too strong. The case was too clear. I had won. I had destroyed her. I had taken everything from her. But as I watched her break down in the courthouse, I realized something. I realized that I hadn't won anything. I realized that in destroying her, I had destroyed myself. Because now I was a man who had spent 9 months planning revenge, a man who had documented every moment of his wife's infidelity without telling her, a man who had raised another man's baby as his own for 3 weeks just to gain leverage in a custody battle. I had become a monster, and I had done it methodically, carefully, with complete precision. The victory felt empty. 2 years later, Nicole is struggling. She has the kids every other weekend, but she's also paying me child support. She's had to move into a small apartment. She's had to take a job that pays less than what she was making before. Marcus had nothing to do with any of it. He moved on. He found another woman. He's happy. And I'm here with the house, with the money, with primary custody of the children, with everything I thought I wanted. But I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled. I'm not at peace. Because every time I look at my daughter, I see Nicole's face. Every time I look at my son, I see the deception. And every time I think about those 9 months where I knew the truth and said nothing, I feel sick. I've become the kind of man who can destroy someone and feel nothing. The kind of man who can raise another man's baby as leverage in a custody battle. The kind of man who can document infidelity without saying a word. I've become the kind of man I never thought I'd be. The children have started asking about their mother. They want to spend more time with her. They miss her. But I'm reluctant to let them go, because some part of me wants to punish her through them. Some part of me wants them to choose me over her. But that's not fair to them. That's not fair to Nicole. That's not fair to anyone. Sometimes, late at night, I think about Thomas. I think about the fact that he's growing up without knowing his biological father. I think about the fact that he's going to grow up knowing that his mother tried to deceive his father. I think about what that's going to do to him. And I realize that in my quest for revenge, I've hurt an innocent child. I've taken a baby who had no say in what happened and made him a pawn in a custody battle. That's the real consequence of my actions. Not that Nicole is suffering, not that I got what I wanted, but that I've damaged a child who did nothing wrong. Nicole tried to contact me last month. She said she wanted to talk about Thomas. She said he was asking questions about why he looked different from his siblings. She said he was confused about his place in the family. I told her I didn't want to talk about it. But the truth is, I do want to talk about it. I want to know how Thomas is doing. I want to know if he's okay. I want to know if my actions have damaged him in ways that I can't even see yet.
But I can't say those things, because I've already made my choice. I've already decided that revenge was more important than compassion. I've already decided that winning the battle was worth losing the war. And now I have to live with that decision for the rest of my life. I have the house, I have the money, I have the custody agreement. I have everything that Nicole had and more. But I don't have peace. I don't have the ability to trust. I don't have the capacity to forgive. And most importantly, I don't have the man I was before I discovered the affair. That man is gone. He's been replaced by someone colder, someone more calculated, someone who can destroy another human being and feel nothing. That's the real price of revenge. Not what you lose from the other person, but what you lose from yourself. I won, but I lost everything that mattered. And the worst part is, I did it to myself. I chose this path. I chose to document instead of confront. I chose to wait instead of act. I chose to destroy instead of heal. And now I'm a man who has everything he wanted and nothing he needed. Sometimes I think about calling Nicole. I think about telling her I'm sorry. I think about telling her that I understand now, that I understand that revenge doesn't solve anything, that it only creates more victims. But I don't call her because I'm too proud, because I'm too angry, because I'm too broken to admit that I was wrong. So I sit in my house, with my money, with my custody agreement, with my children who are beginning to sense that something is wrong with their father, and I wait for the day when I finally understand what I've done. That day hasn't come yet, but I know it's coming, because you can't live like this forever. You can't carry this kind of hatred and emptiness and come out the other side intact. Eventually, it destroys you. Eventually, you become the thing you hated most. Eventually, you realize that the person you were destroying was less of a monster than you've become. And that realization is a lot worse than the original betrayal. That's what I've learned. That's what I know now. Revenge doesn't heal you. It breaks you in ways that you can't even see at first. It turns you into someone you don't recognize, someone you hate. And by the time you realize it, it's too late. You've already become that person. You've already made the choices that define you. And you have to live with those choices for the rest of your life.